Hey Captains, this is Karandar. I hope you've all had a safe and happy holiday season. This year, ours has had a few ups and downs. My girlfriend and I traveled about 2,500 kilometers to celebrate a family friend 90th birthday and an early Christmas with my family in early December. And just a week or so ago, I was able to get out, had some great fun on the Skidoo. First ride of the season after an amazing 80 centimeters of snowfall here. That is, until I had a little mishap. I badly sprained my left wrist, broke my thumb. Got home okay. Mostly my pride hurt, but I'm in a cast and off work for the next 6 weeks while I heal up. Very awkward working on the keyboard, and I do plan to do more of a regular video schedule again. Enough about me though, and on to this video. World of Warships is a game that's very much all about situational awareness and besting our adversaries. And to this end, there's actually a lot of semi-hidden little gems that many captains are not aware of inside of the game settings and the user interface that influence what we see on the screen. And I'm going to run through these with you now. So in port, hit the escape button to open the menu and select your game settings. I'm not going to get into specific hardware settings under graphics options, but there are a couple of settings here to note. The reduced fire and flood effects. With the effects reduced, you get more of an aura or glow around the screen instead of the flames and the water splashing. I find the full effects distracting myself, so I check this box, but this is personal choice. Some will find they help reflect the seriousness of the situation better and want the full effect. It's your call. The only other thing on this screen I want to touch on is at the bottom. It's the color blindness filters. And in here, there is 3 different options, 3 different filters. And there's also an intensity slider to help captains who do suffer color blindness to customize the setting that's best for them. Under the audio settings, you can choose between low, high, or ultra, where the ultra needs to be installed through the game center and requires a bit of a download. It is a little more realistic, but it also will add a little load to your hardware as well. The voiceover language allows you to choose a language of your choice, or silly things like English pirates for some variety. Voiceover modification. This allows you to choose from specific speakers like Com Richard, Jingles, Ovechkin, and different commanders like that. If you do not use the in-game voice chat, be sure to uncheck that. Sometimes having this checked can cause issues with other voice software like Discord or TeamSpeak, from crashes to others maybe hearing echoes and interference. And now we move into the most important settings, which are found in the Controls tab. Weapons group camera and automatically switch the camera between gun mounts. Leave these checked. You can use the C key to switch between front and rear gun mount views. This becomes important when you're fighting around islands, where you find some of your guns blocked by the island, but you know there's an enemy on the other side you want to punish. Rather than waiting for your entire ship to clear, you might choose to fire the moment your front turrets are clear for the shot. And how you see this is by cycling the C key, which will alternate between the front turret view and the back turret view, giving you a clear opportunity to see when you can shoot. One thing to note in this particular battle mode with basic settings, you see the basic battleship icon and the red line underneath him and the distance to target, which is very little information tactically. They always start the battle zoomed out. I leave this on. It allows me a wide field of view at the beginning of the match to see where my allies are positioned, where I am on the map, and this helps me to more quickly decide where I'm going to go. The terrain hit indicator, this I also leave on. What this does is when some or all of your guns are going to shoot into the island, you get the little white mountain indicator near the center of the target reticle. Using the C button, you can decide if some or none of your guns can clear the island. Collision avoidance, I leave this off. It's a personal preference. If it's on, the game will try and steer your ship clear of beaching if you're getting too close to land. I prefer to beach than potentially expose my broadside from the computer helping me. And the imminent beaching indicator and alarm will still sound and show with this setting turned off. The alternative interface mode is one of this game's most important settings in my opinion. It gives a lot of additional tactical information that I think is essential for every captain. You can have it off, adaptive, or full. I leave it on full so that all of the extra information is always present, although this setting can use some extra hardware resources. Adaptive will show the extra information only when zoomed in on your enemy. So notice when you look at our enemy, you see the ship now as a name, the ship icon, the player name, the health bar with the number of hit points and the distance he is from you. In addition to this, notice the numbers around the green target reticle. To the left is the time in seconds. This is the time it will take your shell to travel from where you are to where you're aiming. To the right of the reticle is distance in kilometers. That's the distance the enemy is from you. Just below that, and beside the triangle with the exclamation mark, is your ship concealment range. So seeing these numbers live can really help you to stay dark if that's your goal. Track the locked target. When a target is locked, your guns will be more accurate against this ship, so leave that on. Restore the camera position when exiting free look mode. This is the best way to look around your ship. You hold the right mouse button down and take a quick look around your ship for threats, islands, and such. If you do this, your guns stay locked in their current direction, and releasing the right mouse button, the view springs back to the view you began in the first place. So locking a target will increase the accuracy of your guns, and indicating that the target is locked, there's a round circle around the Yamato and the battleship icon. If you have multiple ships that are close together, one behind another, for example, that's the worst case. If you're trying to hit one in particular, make sure that that ship is targeted and that circle is around that ship, or your guns will not fire accurately. They probably won't hit either ship. You can cycle between the two by hitting the X button. This is an example of the targeting with the right mouse button held. So while I'm looking at the Yamato, hold the right mouse button, turn around, release the mouse button, and it springs back to your initial view. The best part about this again is the guns keep focused on the ship. This works well for seeing other ships, other terrain, and other aircraft when you're trying to target anti-aircraft guns. The zoom limit indicator gives a little rubber band effect that bounces when you zoom out maximum with the scroll wheel. The camera feedback, when damage is taken on your ship, the camera shakes a little. It's great for effect and I love it, but some might find it a bit distracting. Displaying the team lineups. This puts all of your team members on the left side of the screen and the opponents are all on the right. Doesn't give that much information, but offers a quick glance of the team makeup, the CVs, battleships, cruisers, and destroyers, and also the captain names. Any ships that are destroyed become grayed out. Show both main battery and torpedo tube load indicators. Without it, the reload timers for guns and torpedoes only display on the bottom of the screen when you have either the guns or the torpedoes selected. When this is enabled, it constantly displays both guns and torpedo launchers reload information, so you don't have to cycle between the weapon systems. I really like this option enabled. Seeing both the torpedo tubes and the guns at the same time, I love the feedback. Show smoke indicator and smoke timers. These are both very important to enable. Without them, it's very difficult to see where the safe boundaries of your smoke are, and not near as convenient to see when the smoke will expire. Here I'm laying smoke, but it's very difficult to tell where I'll be safe. Once it's enabled, that changes dramatically. Now you see the white line, and provided 51% of your ship is inside that line, you're safe and inside of your smoke. Also, just to the middle top left, you see that countdown timer with a little white smoke indicator. That shows you how much time your smoke is still alive. This also works in other smoke, whether it's friendly or enemy smoke, when you enter that cloud. Counter for damage upon your spotting. Now this number is the damage done by your teammates to any enemy ship that you personally spot, and this does generate some extra experience for you in game. Once enabled, you'll see the damage upon spotting number recorded just below the total damage done to your enemies in the upper right corner of the screen. And similar for your counter for potential damage, this shows the damage from enemy planes, torpedoes, shells that have all been fired at you that you've managed to avoid. These numbers are normally only visible in the detailed post-battle screen unless you enable them. More information to be aware of while you're in your match is the gray ribbons that appear just above the minimap when you're shelling the enemy. And there's 5 different types here. Over penetrations, which will give you 10% of your shell's maximum damage. Full penetration, which I believe is about 30% of the damage. Non-penetrations, which of course are 0. But with high explosive shells, you still have a chance of starting fires. And similar with shatters and ricochets. Some things to watch when you're getting too many shatters, non-penetrations, or ricochets is both what ammunition type you're firing and what you're aiming for. You might need to change those. Small calibers will not penetrate heavy armor like battleships, torpedo belts, and gun turrets. And many very small caliber shells can only damage the super soft superstructure. Sometimes, without special skills like IFHE, the only chance a small caliber destroyer shell has is the chance to start fires on the bigger ships. High explosive rounds can also destroy small modules like secondary guns, anti-aircraft modules in your enemy ships. The destroyed modules will briefly show up as black icons just above your target. If you find that any hotkeys you regularly use are in an uncomfortable position, it's quite easy to actually reassign these keys in these control screen right here. And there's a big variety that you can switch and change. When in the game and you hit the tab key, this brings up another information screen. This shows the team rosters with the captain's names and the lists of ships for friendly and your opposition. On the left side, show the list of function hotkeys. These are the greetings, the requests for support, calling and supporting targets that you likely see other players already using in the game. These commands can help coordinate the team to focus damage an enemy, help a friendly, defend a cap, among other things. You can simply press the corresponding F keys, or as shown on the top of the function list, hit the B key. Pressing and holding that while you're in the match will bring up a wheel with all of the commands. You can click the voice request you desire from the wheel, and then when you release the B button, it will call out the request. If you place your target reticle on your enemy and then press the F3 key, this will request your team to focus fire that enemy. Or if you put the targeting reticle on an ally and hit the F3 key, it will request the team to back up that friendly. Putting the targeting reticle on one of the caps and pressing F3 will call to defend it if you already own it, or if you don't own it, it will call out the team to try and take it. Play with these commands, make yourself more familiar, and you can help your team. Another source of important information is access with the H key while in battle. Key information like your detection range by sea and air, detection when firing guns in smoke. This is a major piece of information to remember with cruisers and anything else that uses smoke. Some detection are 5 to 6 kilometers when firing from smoke. Others can be 12 kilometers or more, meaning that if an enemy is within that distance and you shoot, you will be detected. So if it's important you stay dark and live, be very aware of how close you are to the enemy and this detection value. Not firing might just save your life. Also, main gun range, torpedo range, and anti-aircraft are listed here. Another thing to remember is holding the control button down gives you a free mouse cursor. This allows you to mouse over all your weapons and consumables to examine their values and properties if you can't remember, say, your hydroacoustic range and such. Big tip with the minimap, resizing it as big as is comfortable is very essential to situational awareness. To resize this minimap is easy. Simply pressing the plus and minus keys on your keyboard. Each click will go up and down one size each. Next, and again holding the control key to give you the free mouse cursor, the top right of the minimap you see the little settings gear. Left click on that, and that opens up a drop-down menu that shows you minimap settings. And here you can choose to enable some of the key information. I usually add ship names, ship detection, torpedo and gun ranges. Seeing names in the minimap added to the battleship icons like Yamato and Monarch, rather than just the generic icon, could be the difference between life and death. Next, I'm going to go through quickly crosshair selection, dynamic versus static. Static crosshairs are a basic crosshair. There are many styles to choose from, like this spider web, which I find far too cluttered, but others might find benefit from it with the angled lines when trying to hit kiting targets. Picking the angled line closest to the angle the enemy is kiting away might make it easier for some to land shell hits. My preferred crosshair is the clean and more informational dynamic crosshair. With this crosshair, the ruler will change its scale with the range to target. It's based on your target traveling 30 knots, so adjustment in aim with more or less lead will depend on the target's actual speed, and that comes from experience. Most higher tiered battleships and cruisers have a top speed around 30, some slightly less, some slightly faster, making the scale fairly accurate. And the way it works is you take the time for your shells to travel that we now know from our adaptive interface to be about 6.3 seconds. And assuming our target is traveling flat broadside at 30 knots, we position the targeting reticle in front of the ship, so where we count about 6.3 tick marks on the ruler is about where our shells should land. In this case, about the middle of the superstructure. Obviously, this scale depends on the enemy actions. If he's angling, we need to adjust for that. If he's faster or slower, we need to lead a little more or less. And as we all gain experience, we better remember the speeds of various ships and can adjust accordingly. But this is a great place to begin instead of simply guessing. This video today has covered a lot of information and is probably, for newer captains, a little overwhelming. You may need to watch this a couple of times, practice it, and come back to it. It's a very important resource to give you more tactical awareness that will make you a better captain. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and until the next time, good hunting.